I'm Dominic, as the Scotsman calls me, Mr. Greco. You might remember me from such educational films as Tom Waits versus Mr. Roper. Little name drop in there. So today I'm driving, and I have this memory of a time when I used to never listen to my environment. I thought that the environment was a force against me. That was my goal, is to conquer my environment. I never listened to the subtleties, and I want to tell you a story that kind of coincides with this, about a time that I was buying cars from the auto auction, and I was selling them. And I bought this one car, and I'm selling it to this gal, and it turns out that she asked me if I can get it inspected, so, you know, before she buys it, and she doesn't like the price, and there's all this kind of negotiation going back and forth. And what the gal that wants to buy the car is a cousin of a good friend of mine, friend that I grew up with. So it turns into this gigantic fiasco of the price negotiations, and she hasn't even seen the car yet. She's going to come and see it, and then she doesn't come see it. Now it's getting down on the line where I'm really starting to kind of get close to losing money on the car, because I got to get it all ready and all this stuff. Yeah, I'm really not going to make that much money on the car, but also my rent's coming up. So I'm starting to kind of like panic a little bit and become controlling, and try to make things happen. So she's supposed to come see it a couple times, and then she doesn't. Rent's getting closer. You know, this is life, right? Everything's sliding towards the disaster. And I'm not listening to any of the signals. I'm not listening to any of the anxieties it builds to go, oh, that could mean that maybe I'm going in the wrong direction. I'm always thinking, oh no, the more angst I got inside of me, that's the more I've got to buckle down. I've got to be a man. I'm listening to all the bullshit. You know, I'm buying into all the bullshit that I heard. I got to be strong. I got to be tough. I got to, you know, overcome adversity. I got to do the Nike thing and just do it. It's such hogwash. So eventually I go, oh God, if I don't get this lady the car, if I don't get her to buy it, you know, I'm not even gonna make rent. So okay, now the car doesn't have plates on it. So I have a couple other cars that I bought from the auctions that aren't ready to sell anyway, but they got, I think my car has good plates on it. So I take one plate off, and I put it on, and I go, this will cover me, you know, while I'm driving. I am driving, I'm in bumper to bumper traffic. I mean bumper to bumper, like you can't even hardly see my car. It's just next. Now cop, it comes the other direction. There's no traffic, none at all. He's just flying by. I watch in my rearview mirror, and I'll be son of a bitch if he doesn't fucking turn back around. Now this ain't the first time this has happened to me. Remind me to tell you that story of what the first time that happened to me. He's driving along, fine, you know, happy as a jaybird, and he turns around, comes and pulls me over, and he comes up to the window, and I just break. I gotta ask you. I don't want to offend you, officer, but I gotta ask you, how in the hell did you see? How did you know that my plates weren't good? He said, well, I drove by and saw the front plate, and then when I passed, I noticed in the rearview mirror that the back plate didn't match. I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? What are the odds of that happening? It's like 1 in a million. Now there's a point to this whole story. So he gives me the ticket, and I don't take this as a sign. I don't go, you know, maybe I should, you know, because I'm right next to my house. I mean, I had fucking barely left my house, and I get pulled over. Right? I could just turn around and go back, which he tells me, turn around and go back. No, I take the car out to her, talk her into buying it, and I mean, she's just hoo-hawing, and I go down on the price, and I don't want it, but I gotta get the money I'm in it out. I got to. So yeah, I got to. Right? That got to. Like, well, if I listened to this voice, then I wouldn't. Yeah. See how this disaster turns out. So it turns out that this whole fiasco is a complete disaster. She's calling me like literally 20, 30 times a day, to the point where at some point I stop answering the phone. Apparently the alternator goes bad, or it's leaking oil or something, and I'm like, okay, just God, replace it, you know. Anyway, but my best friend, you know, my friend from childhood, he hates me now because he feels like I scammed his aunt out of the car, and she probably fills him in that, you know, I was you know, sweet talking to get her to buy the car. But as I'm driving today and I remember that story, I think, oh my God, that is so perfect. This is why I can't save somebody else from their own disaster. This is why I can let them go through their own disaster. Because they're choreographing, we're all choreographing our own disasters beforehand. So that when I lose my keys, it's probably for a good reason. And if I lose them consistently, it's because I'm trying to catch up with my life. So if somebody's picking up my mess, really, they're keeping me from hitting that brick wall that I put there, that I've subconsciously, or that the universe is putting there. If anybody else is cleaning up my mess, they're taking that roadblock down so that I can continue on this miserable path. And really, the only place I have to rush to, the only appointment that I absolutely cannot be late for, is my funeral. So if I'm rushing, there's a good chance I could be headed to my funeral if it feels like it's that important. So, you know, now when I listen to my environment, I listen to the birds, I listen to the wind. I can't tell you how many times I've been going somewhere to do something that I shouldn't be doing, and it started to fucking rain. And I think, oh, this is the challenge of life. This is the Hollywood scene where the guy's faced with the torrential rain and he's got to get through the flood and this and that. It's like, no, this is a fucking sign, man. I'm of the same matter that all this stuff is made of. This is a sign to go, hey, you're going the wrong direction. Now that might be self-important thinking, but I go back to the cop story. What are the chances of that policeman seeing those plates? So if I'm in the grocery line and the bagger is going too slow and I'm starting to get that anxiety and I'm like, oh God, would you fucking hurry up? I gotta get to this fucking interview. It's like, maybe this is a sign. When I feel that anxiety, this is my environment telling me. When I'm going in the right direction, man, I swear things happen for me just like that. So I thought you'd enjoy that story. I might tell you that other story of the other time that I was driving and the cop pulled around. That's a hell of a story. But from all of us here in paradise, which is right where we are, we're signing off. Peace. I hope you enjoyed it.